The night my sister called to laugh at me, I didn't say a word. "Thanks for the 2.4 million, Vanessa said, and I could hear her trying not to scream with laughter. "You'll never see a cent of it again." I sat on the floor of my empty new apartment. No furniture yet. Just a mattress, a lamp, and my laptop open on the floorboards. The screen showed my trust account. The balance read 0. I let her breathe into the phone for 5 seconds. Then I hung up. I didn't panic. Panic was a luxury I had given up months ago. I looked closer at the screen. Below that terrifying 0, one word blinked in gray text. Initiated. I stood up, walked to the small bedroom closet, and opened the fireproof safe I had bought 2 weeks earlier. Inside was a thick blue binder. I flipped to the tab marked Trust and found a printed email from 4 months back. Confirmation that enhanced verification was active on my account. I had built that wall myself one quiet afternoon without telling anyone. I called the trust company's fraud line. Left my name, my account number, a clear statement that I had not authorized any transfer. Then I filed the same report through the online portal and wrote both confirmation numbers in my binder, in ink with the time beside them. My phone buzzed. Not from Vanessa. From my mother. "Don't upset your sister. She's finally fixing this family." I read it 3 times. For 18 months I had cut my hours at the hospital, managed my mother's medication, driven her to physical therapy after her stroke. And this was the message she sent me. Not "Are you okay?" A warning on behalf of the person robbing me. She knew. That was the part one couldn't put down. My mother knew exactly what Vanessa was doing. I took a screenshot, opened my laptop, and wrote to my attorney Rebecca Sloan. The subject line was 2 words: "It happened." Then I turned off the lights and waited for morning. To understand how I ended up on that floor, you have to go back a year, to a kitchen that smelled like roasted espresso and expensive perfume. I was sorting my mother's blood pressure pills into a plastic organizer when Vanessa walked in, still in her blazer from a morning of showing houses. She didn't take off her coat. She leaned over our mother's recliner, snapped a photo of the 2 of them smiling, and typed something into her phone without looking up. "Just a quick visit before I show a property," she said. "Had to see my favorite lady." My mother patted her hand. "You work so hard, sweetheart. I don't know how you do it all." She never said that to me. I had been awake since 4 that morning, medication schedules, insurance calls, and a full shift at the hospital still ahead of me. My job was flexible, in my mother's eyes. Something I could drop the moment she needed a glass of water. On her way out, Vanessa tapped a stack of mail on the counter. "You should go through this, Claire. Some of it looks important." After she left, I found a statement from the family care account, the fund the trust allowed for our mother's medical costs. A reimbursement of $4,500, marked as paid to me. I checked my bank app. It had never arrived. I brought it up that evening. Vanessa barely looked at the paper. "You probably transferred it and forgot. You know how disorganized you get when you're stressed." "I didn't forget $4,000, I said. "It never hit my account." My mother sighed from her chair. "Please don't start a fight over paperwork, Claire. You've been so exhausted lately. You're confusing things." I looked at my mother's face. Genuine pity. I looked at my sister's easy, practiced smile. Neither of them was trying to find the money. They were trying to convince me I couldn't be trusted to remember my own life. I didn't argue. I went to my old childhood room, closed the door, and sat with that feeling for a long time. The next day I bought a thick blue binder from an office supply store. 5 tabs: care, trust, medical, messages, work. I slid the bank statement into the first sleeve. It felt small. It was the moment I stopped trying to be the perfect daughter and started building a defense. Over the following months, the narrative kept shifting under me. At a family dinner, Vanessa told our aunt, with a sad little laugh, that I'd forgotten to pay the electric bill and asked the same question 3 times in 1 hour. Both lies had explanations. She'd changed the account password without telling me, and I'd simply been confirming a therapy appointment she kept rescheduling. But facts didn't matter under those dining room lights. My aunt reached over and patted my arm. "Burnout is real, sweetheart. Let your sister help you more." Tired was quietly becoming unstable. Then came the phone call that told me this was no longer carelessness. It was a plan. A receptionist from the private counseling clinic I'd visited years earlier, after my father died, called to verify a records request. Someone claiming to be my mother had asked for a copy of my old evaluation. The authorization form was missing a witness signature. "Cancel it," I said. "Do not release a single page." I confronted my mother. She shook her head too fast. "What clinic? Why would I do that? You're imagining things again." The only place that held my old address, my medical history, my social security number, was the locked drawer in my mother's dresser. The same drawer my sister had a key to. I didn't argue that time either. I went back to my room, opened the binder, and wrote down the time. I understood finally what I was looking at. This wasn't a family falling apart from grief and money stress. This was a paper trail being built against me, one quiet lie at a time. And I was the one meant to disappear into it. So I built my own trail back. I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus, rented a private post office box, routed every financial letter to a new email address only I could access. I met with my attorney, Rebecca, who read through my binder without a flicker of surprise and started drafting a formal revocation of every power of attorney my family might try to use against me. She set up a callback verification on my trust account, a specific phrase known only to me that had to be spoken live before any major transfer could clear. I sat through a private cognitive evaluation that summer, answering humiliating questions about my memory and my daily life, just to have a piece of paper that said in writing that my mind was sound. It felt like defending myself against a crime no one had charged me with yet. But I needed a medical anchor rooted in reality because I knew somehow that reality was exactly what they meant to take from me. I signed a lease on a small apartment 2 miles from the hospital. I didn't move in, not yet. I still had a home care plan to finish building for my mother. But I carried the brass key in the hidden pocket of my work bag, and when she asked about it, I told her it was for a supply closet. And in my old bedroom, in a folder in my desk drawer, I left one thing behind on purpose: a photocopy of that 4-year-old evaluation. Before I put it away, I pressed a blue pen to the margin beside the printed date, just enough to bleed a tiny mark into the paper. I wrote a meaningless code in the bottom corner. Then I photographed both marks, close and clear, and locked the drawer. Sat there for weeks, untouched, until the night my sister came for dinner and disappeared into the hallway for 10 minutes. When I checked my room later, there were fresh scratches on the brass lock. The photocopy was gone. In the kitchen drying dishes, Vanessa leaned against the counter with her wine glass and asked, almost bored, "When the trust company needs to verify something with you, do they usually call or just email?" "They usually just email," I lied, watching the water run over my hands. She smiled like she'd gotten exactly what she came for, and walked back into the living room. I dried my hands, picked up my phone, and texted Rebecca to issue an immediate preservation notice to the trust company. Then I opened the small security camera app I'd installed by the front door without telling anyone, and watched the recording from earlier that night. My sister stepping out of the hallway, a folded paper visible under her coat. My mother standing right there in the entryway, looking directly at it, looking up at my sister's face, and turning her head away, letting her walk out the door. I sat with that footage a long time before I closed the laptop. Whatever came next, I already knew the truth my family had been hiding from me for a year. I just didn't know yet how far they were willing to go to bury it. 2 weeks after that missing photocopy vanished from my drawer, my sister called our mother's house pretending to check in. What she was really doing was watching the calendar, waiting for the right moment. The night the trust company froze the transfer, I was standing at the nurse's station coordinating a discharge when the alert hit my phone. Not a text. A steady, pulsing fraud notification. My portfolio status had just changed from active to liquidating. I didn't run. I signed the discharge form, handed it to the charge nurse, and walked into an empty conference room before I let myself react. I called the trust company's main line. A cheerful representative told me a family care representative had filed an incapacity claim that morning. Documents accepted. A massive transfer under review. "This is Claire Dawson," I said, keeping my voice level. "And the sky is falling in Carolina." That was the phrase. The one only I knew, the one Rebecca and I had built into the account months before for exactly this moment. The woman's warmth disappeared. "The caller who initiated this transfer did not provide that phrase," she said carefully. "This case is being escalated immediately." I sat down in that empty room and for the first time in months let myself breathe. By morning, my attorney had the full picture. 2 forged medical certificates. One from an old clinic visit, one from a doctor named Adrian Ellison, a man I had never met in my life. A proxy form naming my sister as my sole financial representative, carrying our mother's authenticated signature. Rebecca called Dr. Ellison's office directly. He signed a sworn statement confirming he had never treated me. The old clinic confirmed the final page of my evaluation had been altered after the fact, and preserved the email logs proving it. Bank records showed the destination account listed my name on the cover page, but gave my sister sole control. And behind that account sat a struggling townhome project outside Raleigh, drowning in debt, with my brother-in-law's forged signature on the loan. They hadn't tried to manage my inheritance. They tried to spend it before I even knew it was gone. My sister didn't wait to find out the transfer had failed before she started celebrating. She'd seen the pending credit hit her account and forwarded a screenshot to a commercial lender, certain the money was already hers. That's the call that came through my phone speaker. Her laughing, thanking me for $2.4 million I would never actually lose. She didn't know the net had already closed around her. 2 months later, a court petition arrived at my apartment door. My mother and sister were asking a judge for temporary guardianship over my estate, citing paranoid behavior and abandonment of caregiving duties. Rebecca read it once and set it down without flinching. "This is just an allegation," she said. "We're going to prove every step you took was a rational response to their fraud." I sat through a second cognitive evaluation, this one court-ordered, fully independent, and the doctor didn't just confirm I was sound. He added a note to his report that my meticulous record-keeping was a protective measure, not a symptom of anything. That note became the spine of our defense. The hearing came in December. I wore a charcoal suit instead of scrubs and walked up the courthouse steps feeling more like myself than I had in a year. My sister sat at the petitioner's table in a soft beige dress, one hand resting over our mother's trembling fingers, playing the devoted daughter for a gallery of aunts and cousins who watched me like I was already broken. Opposing counsel painted his picture. A grieving woman crumbling under caregiving stress, hiding a secret apartment, refusing calls, obsessively organizing receipts. My mother nodded along, dabbing her eyes. Rebecca stood and answered with paper. A job offer letter. A lease paid from my own account. 2 independent evaluations declaring my mind sound. And then the coup de grace. The scanned photocopy of my old evaluation projected onto the courtroom screen, beside the photograph I had taken of it months before. "Your Honor," Rebecca said, "please look at the left margin." A tiny blue ink mark. An alphanumeric code that meant nothing to anyone but me. "This document was created by my client," she said, "specifically to prove it would be stolen." The room went silent. My sister's collar suddenly looked too tight. Then came the trust officer, Thomas Reyes, laying out the failed callback password, the true ownership of the receiving account, the proof of funds package tied to a collapsing real estate deal. And finally, Rebecca read a single email into the record. My sister's own words, offering to split the money once her project closed. "You don't offer to share an inheritance," Rebecca said quietly, "unless you already know it was never yours to take." My mother pulled her hand back from my sister's. "She told me it was legal," she said. "She said it was temporary to keep the money safe." Rebecca didn't let that stand either. She read the discovered text messages aloud. "Don't tell her until the money clears." And then the line that ended any illusion I had left about my mother's innocence. "She has children. She doesn't need all of it." My sister turned on her right there at the table. "You told me to use the old evaluation. You wanted the money secured for your grandchildren." They argued in front of the judge, tearing at each other to escape the blame, while the family that had spent a year trying to prove I was unraveling came apart in public instead. The judge denied the guardianship petition, removed both women from any role in my trust, referred the forged documents to the district attorney. It should have ended there. It didn't. Weeks later, Thomas came to me with a spreadsheet. Small reimbursements, phantom vendor payments, inflated medical charges. A pattern stretching back 3 years, long before my mother's stroke. My sister had built a shell vendor account just to skim from our mother's care fund. Total stolen. Over $180,000. It had paid for car leases, marketing campaigns, and the interest on a deal that was always going to fail. The consequences came fast after that. Her brokerage suspended her the moment the fraud investigation became public. Her husband, facing his own exposure over the forged loan documents, handed prosecutors everything he had and filed for separation to protect their children. My mother, cooperating now to save herself, still begged me from her wheelchair to put in a good word with the prosecutor. "She's still your sister," she said. "Her choices put her there," I told her. "My silence won't undo them." At sentencing, my sister tried one last time over a video call to reach the version of me that always came back to fix things. "Think about your niece and nephew," she said. "You're too stubborn to just ask for leniency. This was never about the money," I told her. "You used my exhaustion as a weapon. You tried to erase my right to my own life. You're not losing this family because I'm stubborn. You're losing them because you thought you owned us." She took a plea. Time served, supervised probation, full restitution, and a permanent ban from ever managing anyone else's finances again. My mother moved into assisted living. I visit on a schedule now, polite, steady, distant. She still asks some days when I'm coming home. The last time she asked, I looked at the brass key in my palm, warm from my own pocket, belonging to no one but me. "I am home," I told her. For the first time in 39 years, it wasn't a lie. My binder sits on a shelf in my office now, not hidden in any safe. Just a record of a year I survived by refusing to disappear quietly. If you've ever felt loved only for what you provide, remember this. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're survival. Document everything. Protect your peace the same way you once protected people who never protected you back. You are not a resource to be spent down to nothing. You get to decide who's allowed in. What's one boundary you could start holding today?